Speaking of the Royal Rumble match itself, we talk about Punk, we talk about Cody and Drew being the final three most likely. Can't count out Gunther. He made his return to Raw on Monday night, the Intercontinental Champion. I thought might kick off his next feud. He did not. Instead, he just declared himself for the Men's Rumble. So he was in it last year, lasting longer than anyone in Royal Rumble event history. I don't think he has the longest performance ever. Maybe, I think Bryan had a longer performance, but that was that 50-man Rumble back in 2018. That's better off forgotten. Other than that, I think Gunther does have the longest performance of anyone in Royal Rumble event history. And he ended up at 1, got eliminated by Cody, and he lost. So he would have been my pick a couple of months ago had Punk not come back. He probably, to me, would have faced Rollins at Mania. That's likely not happening at this point, obviously, because he's still Intercontinental Champion. Your thoughts on Gunther being in the Rumble? Because if he's not making it to the final three, who throws him out?
It's a great question.
And what does he do at WrestleMania?
I feel like all signs are pointing to him and Brock.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I thought that too, yeah.
So I feel like Brock would be the one to throw him out, or maybe he throws Brock out and Brock freaks the fuck out and goes back in and throws him out. So it's like a double elimination kind of thing. But, I mean, that's what the rumor is. It feels like that's where it's going. I saw reports Brock's coming back soon.
Yep.
Nothing else makes sense for him. So I would say either Gunther eliminates him or vice versa. But that's where I think it's going.
You're definitely going to poo-poo the idea, because I wouldn't say no one makes sense, because Chad Gable does make sense, but the guy...
Stop with the Chad Gable. Oh, my God. Get over it.
They would have to build the guy back up. They would have to build him back up between now and Mania. But that is something you can revisit. I'm not going to say Jey Uso. That does make a lot of sense, because I feel like the Mania match with Jimmy is... That's the only reason why they've held off on it for so long, is because they want to face each other at Mania. So they're probably not doing that. You have Bronson Reed teasing he's coming for a champion. I don't think it's Gunther. We already saw that. I don't think that's it.
No,
we'll talk about him in a second. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then maybe, I said this already, I think last week, Andrade maybe, if he's back in the Rumble. He's a babyface. I mean, he could probably be going to SmackDown, reunite with Zelina and the LWO. The only thing I don't like about that is having, you got to put all your Latino stars in one storyline. I'm like, I don't really like that too much. I think he could do his own thing on Raw. But he's an option too. But Brock, like you said, is probably the most likely. This coincided, like you said, with the report that Brock is on his way back very soon. I always expected Brock back in the Rumble. The only thing I don't like about that, Gunther and Brock does feel like a Mania match. But how do you go about doing this, though? I mean, the match is probably, let's be realistic here, going to be 5 minutes, which I don't like, but that's the nature of Brock at this point in 2024. He had some longer matches with Cody, but I'm not expecting that with Gunther. It's probably just going to be a 5-minute hoss fight. Does Brock win the Intercontinental Championship? I mean, how do you go about booking this feud? Does Gunther lose the championship before then? How would you book it?
Whew, that's a great question. That is a good question. I don't know, maybe you have it so... I mean, it's just fancy booking in here. Gunther throws Brock out, Brock's pissed. Gunther defends the title at Perth. Whoever he faces, Brock costs in the match. They win the belt. Then Gunther's pissed. You get him and Brock at WrestleMania, no title. I like that idea better.
Yeah, that could work. I just feel like...
I don't want Brock as Intercontinental Championship, so he should, like... And I don't know, I just feel like... not that Gunther's reign needs to end, but, like, he'll be World Heavyweight Champion by the end of the year. Like,
yeah, he'll be champion probably by Berlin.
So he would have to lose the belt sometime soon. I doubt, like, he's going to lose, and they're going to be like, okay, right, the championship. I don't mind that. I mean, I think that's fine. It just depends on who it is. Hope to God, not Chad Gable. But, I mean, he hasn't even been on TV, so that wouldn't even make sense.
He's having a match on Monday with Ivar. They would really have to heat him up between now and then, and that might be too soon. If you're talking Chamber, he's probably... Maybe Mania. Mania might be feasible if they started to build him up now. He can't just come out on a week, like this week or next week, and say, hey, I want Gunther again. It's like, okay, but you've done nothing for 6 months now. He would really have to be built up like for at least a month or two, and that would have to begin now.
Yeah, no, I think I like my idea the best. He loses it at Elimination Chamber because of Brock. Then we get him and Brock at WrestleMania.
The only thing I don't like about that is that Brock, like Gunther losing the championship should be the focal point because he's been champion for so long that it shouldn't, Gunther and Brock shouldn't be the bigger story in my opinion. That's the only thing. Brock and Gunther doesn't need the Intercontinental Championship, and I just fear if they do the match, Brock's probably going to win. I know you're probably, not you thinking, you specifically, but people might be thinking, oh, why would they have Gunther lose to Brock? I mean, Brock did do the favors for Cody the last time he was here, so he might not be willing to lose for a second time. I saw the Riddle stuff that Riddle said, and take that with a grain of salt, but, he was like, I guess Brock came back to the Rumble 2 years ago, and he was like, I just did the honors for Bobby, so you guys are going to do the honors for me in the Rumble. And then he came out and won the Rumble. I don't know if he dictated the finish of that match. I think that was always the plan. But still, that sounds like a Brock thing. Like, hey, I'll lose as long as I end up going over in the end in something else. So, I don't know. I feel like he's probably going to win whatever he does at WrestleMania, and I really don't want him to beat Gunther. And if he beats Gunther, I don't want it to be for the championship. I just feel like Brock is champion.
My idea is the best then. Then he loses the belt before, so he doesn't lose the belt to Brock.
Maybe he loses clean, though. Maybe, I don't know. I think I like your idea. The only thing I would tweak is that Brock costs Gunther the title. And you can go back around to Gunther and Brock without Brock costing him the championship. That's the only thing I don't like about it. But that's minor, though. That's not a major nitpick.
Okay, then he loses the belt and he's bitching on Raw the next night that he wants a rematch. Brock comes out and kicked on. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the Rumble, I don't really mind one way or the other. You said that Gunther throws Brock out and Brock gets mad out of that. I mean, that probably makes more sense. I also would have been fine or will be fine or would be fine with Brock throwing out Gunther. I'd also be completely okay with that if they wanted to go that direction too. So, I don't know. Gunther and Brock is fine by me. I don't want to say that I've been looking forward to this, but I don't want it here. That sounds, I don't want to say that. And I do want to see the match. But the stars have to align here because he is still champion. If he already lost the belt, I wouldn't have had an issue with it. But I don't want Brock to win the championship. I know we already have Logan Paul as the United States champion. He's probably going to lose it at WrestleMania. So it won't be at the same time. But it's like, we don't need another part-timer champion. Brock's not dropping it, like I've said before, in Poughkeepsie at a house show the next week. Like, he'll be champion till SummerSlam, and that's way too fucking long. To have Gunther as this fighting champion for a year and a half, and then Brock wins it, and then never shows up, I mean, it completely defeats any goodwill Gunther built up with that championship. So, I don't know. We'll see, but Gunther and Brock does seem like a pretty likely Mania match to do. One last thing on that, though. If he doesn't face Gunther, if Brock is back in the Rumble or some other point on the road to WrestleMania, you know that he'll be at WrestleMania. He faced fucking Omos last year. What else would Brock do at Mania if he was not facing Gunther? Could he face Drew again, maybe, this time in front of fans with the roles reversed? I mean, I don't know how you set that up, but I mean, that's an option, right? Maybe Brock gets his win back? I don't know. Seriously, I mean, Drew beat him the first time. I don't know. Yeah, that's possible. I mean, I don't know how. I like the Gunther idea better, but I mean, it's possible. No,
yeah, the Gunther one makes more sense. I'm just thinking option
I mean, besides him, it's like literally you have to think about him like Solo? I don't even know.
Solo, yeah.
Because I'm thinking, when last time we saw him, he just lost to Cody. Like, that's the last time we saw Brock.
Yeah, no, there's nothing really for him to come back and avenge, yeah. He's coming back with a clean slate.
Like I said, maybe him and Drew. I mean, I feel like the only other person I'd want to see him against him and Drew again. So I'd say him and Gunther or him and Drew. Yeah, we kind of got robbed in the match. Not to say it would be a banger at Mania 30 or Mania 40 this year, but I mean, I don't know. He never got to avenge that loss, and I mean, it's Brock. He doesn't need to avenge the loss. He'll be perfectly fine. But Drew's on his potentially way out anyway. They would probably have him lose. They can do the match in front of fans. Brock can win. And if you don't do that with Drew, I mean, I'm not going to keep going with this, but it kind of becomes a chain of well, if you don't do that with Drew, what do you do with Drew instead? Drew, I think, has options. I think Cody should be in a higher match at Mania than with Cody Rhodes. Than with Drew, rather, with Cody Rhodes. Because I think Cody should be going for a championship and not just facing Drew in a non-title match just to delay the story. That would be dumb. I think Drew can face Sami Zayn. He took out Sami in storyline like a month or so ago, and we have not seen Sami since. So I would do that match in Mania, if nothing else. But Brock and Drew also worked for me as well.